Hello, I'm Tarik. I work for BBC Africa Social, so I look after the content that goes out on our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter pages. So there are lots of things that audiences want to see in our content, especially at BBC Africa. They want to make sure that they can see people who look like them, people who, they can relate to, people who speak like them, who have similar kind of lifestyles and backgrounds. For a lot of our audience, for women in particular, they want to interact with content that really does mean something to them, that does relate to their lives.
Find girls like you always vulnerable.
I think BBC Africa there's a great example of Sex for Grades, and I know that the producer said that he found that story by looking in the comments and seeing that the audience was talking about this, and a lot of women were talking about this, saying this, investigate this thing next. It was such a hit. There was no way that documentary wasn't going to perform well, because you had so many women who had experienced this thing and felt that it had been ignored and nobody had really addressed it. And so, we saw a huge success with that. So there are lots of different things to think about when you're producing for different platforms. Obviously for Instagram, it's all about IGTV, and that's vertical. So what tends to work really well on Instagram are those kinds of personal films that are profiles that you can see people's faces, that are kind of emotive. Facebook is still huge all around the world. So remember that you're competing with people's friends and families on that platform. That is originally what it was set up for. So trying to think of what content will move people to share. It's all about shares on Facebook. So what are the stories that you have that are really emotive, something that's really shareable? And it's usually that inspiring stuff. Thinking about inspire me content.
Coffee.
So for YouTube, it is the longer form platform, but that doesn't mean that you should make a 2-hour documentary if you don't need to, because actually YouTube prioritizes things by watch time. So if people aren't getting through much of your film, then it's not going to be promoted on the platform. So it's not worth creating something long form if it doesn't deserve to be long form. But you can put really great documentaries on there. So that kind of more in-depth, more high production value stuff really works well on YouTube. So once you've made your film, obviously you want as many people to see it as possible. So if your headline and your teasers and your kind of the way you're selling it is searchable, people will discover your content. Thumbnails are so key, especially when people are constantly scrolling. What is going to be the reason that they stop? Faces work really well for a number of reasons. It needs to be something that the eyes can instantly understand what that thing is, and faces are the easiest thing for us to recognize. So if you can get some really great shots, I always really loved it when our VJs would come back with photos outside of the film, so that I didn't have to select from within the film, but they had some really lovely photos that they brought back from the films as well. So if you have the time to do that, to take some lovely photos whilst you're out making your films, that will make your social media producer very, very happy. And I think that works particularly well when people are scrolling through and they can see a really beautifully taken photo on their timeline.